Friday, 76 on Saturday. Join us right here for St. Louis Cardinal baseball all season long on WAOV.
You're tuned in to local programming on 97.7 WAOV and newsknoxcounty.com. The information and opinions voiced on the Marc and Marc Show is for general information only. WAOV Radio and the original company assumes no responsibility for errors or omissions in the content of the program. Broadcasting for over 5 years from the historic Brevoort House in downtown Vincennes, this is the Marc and Marc Show. It's a show about everything. A show about nothing. Featuring Joe Herron, Chris Haddix, Dave Hill, Dr. Aaron Wiseman, and Haley Lancaster. We now go live to the WAOV studios for the Marc and Marc Show with your hosts, Marc McNeese and Marc Hill.
Hey, it's the Marc and Marc Show with Chris Haddix. And it's Marc and Marc. So
how about that?
Marc,
we're here.
Marc's in town, and you can hear him. He's not in some gray convertible with a gray shirt on and a gray background.
Well, you know,
that's why they call him the ghost of the machine.
I am in Vincennes, and I will tell you that you get people when you leave Vincennes, if you travel, and the people out there that do travel know this, Vincennes has really good cell phone coverage.
Yeah.
We just do. And you go to other places, and there's lots of dead zones.
Just right around Apple Hill Orchard. Once you're heading towards Terre Haute, right on Apple Hill Orchard.
Oh, my gosh. It's just nothing. It's just dead.
It's
Every
true.
podcast, I make phone calls, and I say, I'll have to call you back before I hit this
There's
area.
a North Knox dead zone. There definitely is, yeah. So,
I mean, how would you like to be – wait a minute. How would you like to be a business out there? That would stink.
It would be awful.
You see this big tower, too, sitting there, and then you're like, well, what's that tower powering? I mean, what's it do? What's the point
shooting the other direction? It's shooting the other direction, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of you? You got to tear it down.
All right, on that positive note, let's talk about good week, bad week. My good week is Albert Pujols, the machine, reaches his goal. He gets 700 home runs and did it the same night he got 699, which was incredible. And he also did the same thing back when he got 500. He had 499 and 500. We had a nice homecoming set of events that happened.
Hey, Marc, the Dodgers, by the way, the Dodgers were a really class act during that whole process,
Oh, absolutely.
too.
They love it.
And they even, later on that night, they did a huge congratulations to him, saying they wish they would have scored differently. The score turned out differently. I mean, the St. Louis won 11-0 that game, didn't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a rout.
But they did. They were really gracious in that loss and congratulating their.
It'd been more gracious if they would have let us win one more game while we were there. You know, we just won.
Oh, you're in the playoffs. Don't worry about
it. Yeah. So it says the team that went 30 innings scoring one run. 30 innings shutout. That's incredible. We won one of those games 1-0 in the 11th inning. So, nice homecoming events. Briefly mentioned, because I don't want to take Mark's thunder, the Bandshell Bash.
Take away.
Cards Magic number 3. Bears win. Bad news. My after beating you and the commissioner, I fell to John in the Fantasy Football League because my halfback got hurt in the first half of the first quarter. And
that'll put a damper on your fantasy day right there.
And his replacement scored 30 points. If I'd had him in the game, I would have won. But that's the way it goes. All right, that's my good week, bad week. How about you, Mr. McNeese, now that we can hear you?
Oh, my goodness. Lots of good. There was no lack of things to do in Knox County, surrounding counties, even 2.5 hours away. I mean, there was stuff to do everywhere. So I got a couple good weeks. One, we had a big dog wash for the animal shelter. We raised some funds for the animal shelter, and that was just an outstanding event. Next time, if you're a listener out there and you know the dog wash is coming to the Vincennes Animal Shelter, bring your dog out for a small donation. We don't even put a dollar amount on it. you can have your dog washed and you don't have to mess with it, and you give money to an organization that really helps. I think they raised almost $1,000, and you got to understand, Mark, you know this better than most people. Fundraisers cost money. There's a lot of money to raise money.
Right.
And so the animal shelter doing that event, that was almost a zero cost kind of thing. So that's all good money back into there to help them with their mission. So I had that as a good week. And then I went off to, I've done so many things since I've been on here. So I went off to Notre Dame. Actually, I was at a conference, at an AIC conference, Association of Indiana Counties in Notre Dame at South Bend, and ended up on the field at Notre Dame University at the stadium. And one of my colleagues, and it was throwing the ball. Of course, I caught a touchdown pass at Notre Dame. It will be the only time in my lifetime I will be on the field at Notre Dame. But awesome. It was incredible. It was incredible to do. Did that. I've been to the Victor Theater. I've been to Bandshell Bash. We've, it's just, you name it. And Friday, homecoming, miserable weather to have a homecoming football game in. The rest of the weekend was awesome. And Vincent's Lincoln won, which is really kind of cool to see. Beat the snot out of Fort Harrison. So, bad week, Bandshell Bash. I helped with the stage. I'm one of those things of being around at the chamber for a million years is I was on the RDC when the stage was purchased, and I ended up being one of the people that know actually how to set that thing up. So head roadie. Yeah, I was a roadie, and my back has paid for it for 2 days in a row. So
I bet. Oh man,
it's one of those things where you wake up and you can't breathe, kind of thing. So it's loosening up, but successful, huge event. And, that was a great event just because of, one, I think homecoming, people wanted something else to do in between their things.
What a good tie-in, too.
Yeah. Two, you have those youth football games that are going on at the exact same time at Inman Field. So a lot of those people coming in and out of there come back or stay, and it gives them a reason to be there, too. And then the car show was at the same time. And the distillery had an event. It was awesome, too. And so, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you. Your good week, bad week. I got a feeling I know what your bad week is, though.
I bet you can guess, yeah. So we'll start off with good week. Yes, I'm finally going to get to be in the chili cook-off. I heard Mark give us a little shout-out when he was talking about it on the radio the other day. He's hyping us up a little bit, though, putting a little pressure on us to make good chili.
I know. Do the listeners know that it's us three? It's you and I.
Yes, he mentioned that it's the trio of us.
So yeah. We're the only team. You're the only team with three.
Oh, and we've got big ideas, so we'll see how that goes for us.
We'll see how it works. It may just go down a ball of flame.
It may be a train wreck, but it'll be a fun train wreck either way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Also, the Colts somehow won when they should not have won. They got a bad call their way. But it was fine because there was a bad call that went against them for that 2-point conversion. So that's how football works. The weather has been very nice, finally cooling down. It's almost like we flipped the switch and got fall after the first day of fall, minus Friday, of course. But and then, all right, so bad week. My wife broke her foot last Saturday at the diner during our breakfast rush. Yeah, so
you get workman's comp for that?
Hey, yeah, exactly. Is there a workman's comp claim there?
So she is technically not an owner. She is my employee, so she has definitely filed. I am dealing with paperwork as a owner and also as the husband of the person who got hurt. So double paperwork for me. Yay! So she broke her foot in 2 places. Thank goodness there was no surgery needed. She's on crutches and a boot. She's the worst patient alive. She likes things done her way on her time, and no one else does that, and now she can't, so she has to depend on others. She's terrible, terrible, terrible to deal with. I feel bad for her, but yes. Also,
what was the joke I asked today? I'd sent Chris a message today and asked him how Buffy was doing, and she wrote back okay, or he wrote back okay, because she was too busy hopping around Walmart with crutches, and I sent the emoji about why don't you get one of those carts, man.
She absolutely refuses to get in those Mark carts, which that's what they're for.
Exactly.
She will not get in them. So instead, she's behind me in crutches, and I look like a jerk not letting her keep up with me while I'm trying to go around the store. So yeah, she refuses. I'm like, it'd be so easy. Just get in. Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. So yeah, so it's fun, but we got
give her the bonus of like she could run over your back of your heel a couple of times,
right?
And feel better, you know.
She can still catch me with those crutches with that thing. Don't worry. So she hates those crutches. Those things fall down in our house about every 30 seconds. The dogs are perpetually in fear because it's constant crashing. Yes, it's awful. So also bad week, fantasy football woes. Man, it has been a rough go for people that know fantasy football. It's been terrible. Running backs are awful. All the best running backs are doing nothing. Yeah. It's my team in my big league, which we'll talk about later and stuff. I'm second last in scoring. I spent every day in the offseason listening to podcasts preparing for this, and I am in 11th place out of 12 people. Wow. And half of those people know nothing about fantasy football.
Chris, I would say, you know, it's certainly an anomaly year. I mean, in our league, I'm the highest point total, but I'm in 6th or 7th place because I'm 1 and 2. And the only reason I won this week is because I scored the most in the entire league. You know,
you came close to that last week.
I did a lot last week and didn't win last week and scored really well the first week.
I lost.
It's a weird league. It's weird when you look down at total points, and most of the time, Carson Wentz of the Commanders is the 6th highest total point getter right now. Yeah, so and he's undrafted in most leagues. I mean, nobody's got him on the team unless you.
I do. He's my starter in our league because
Dak Prescott went down.
Yeah, Dak blew his leg out again in the freaking first week.
Hey, boys, we are at that first break, you know, as hard as it is to say out loud. But we'll be back here in a minute, and we'll come back with word of the day and some shout-outs that I'm sure Mr. McNeese has a long, long list.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
On the Mark and Chris show.
Is your network not performing like it should? Do you need expert advice on how to better your business's network, large or small? In need of technical support, but don't want to add the cost of headcount to your bottom line? Intellicent Managed Services is more than your local broadband and voice provider. From basic internet connection to network integration and management, let our experts support you every step of the way. Don't know where to start? Give RTC Communications a call at 812-486-3211 for a consultation.
Who will create the next great Cardinals postseason moment? Will it be Goldie or Nolan? Maybe final season legends, Yachty or Albert? Either way, we want you to be a part of it all. Guarantee access to every potential postseason game in St. Louis with a 2023 season ticket deposit. Secure your seat to the highest demand games. Don't miss a minute of the action. There's a plan for every fan. Learn more at cardinals.com/season.
They drank up the wine and they got to talking.
Is the highest point total.
Oh, there you go, fans. You heard it first here on the Mark Show. Lamar Jackson, last week he scored like 35 points for you guys, and
scored 48 again this week. He scored 48.
Yeah, he's
48 again.
His nickname is Superman, and he's living up to it.
Well, he bet on himself. He doesn't have a contract. Didn't get done. How dumb is Baltimore? They didn't get it done, and now he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the whole.
And I got the Baltimore. Yeah, I have the Baltimore kicker, so I score some points because of him too. So here we go. Word of the day: prevaricate. That's a great word. Prevaricate. It means to speak falsely or misleadingly, deliberately misstating or creating an incorrect impression. Nothing like that going on in our country. No. We are prevaricated free here in the USA. So that's my word of the day. Chris, your fantasy football word of the day.
All right, we're going to go with streaming because there's a lot of injuries going on right now. Streaming players are players you pick up off the waiver wire basically to plug in and play for 1 week when someone's hurt or someone's on a bye. And, for example, in the Mark League, I am basically streaming quarterbacks because Dak Prescott is hurt. And thankfully, Mark McNeese stole Russell Wilson from me because he is a dumpster fire.
No good deed goes unpunished, does it? My goodness, he's a dumpster fire. That's all.
I have him in 5 leagues, and I swear I've been sending out trades to pick up Trevor Lawrence in those leagues because there's just nobody out there. It's
and here's the other side of that too: is all those wide receivers, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. Everybody picked those guys up thinking they would have a great year too, and through the first 3 weeks, it's been awful.
Well, my backup quarterback is the GOAT, and the GOAT had nobody to throw the frickin' ball to this week. I mean, because Evans went ballistic
they picked up Cole Beasley from Planet Fitness to run routes this week.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah. The coach ran into him at Planet Fitness while doing a cardio workout, and they hired him. Put him on the field. That's bad.
That's bad. Okay, Mark, what you got? What's your word?
I got a word of the day, and it's because we watch streaming, and it was the word of the year a few years ago, and that's Dracarys. Man, what a brutal scene in the Thrones spinoff. Shoo!
Yeah.
Dracarys means fire, and in particular, dragon fire.
In Old Valerian, yes.
In Old Valerian, man, brutal. They are not kind to women on that show, I'm telling you.
Oh, no.
Life was not kind to women. Wow. Between childbirth and everything else, man, it's like, wow, it was a tough time.
I mean,
all right, so that's our word of the day. Shout outs.
Mark,
I'm going to let you go first on shout outs so I don't step on your toes here.
Let's zip through them all, I guess. One, street departments, police department, fire for helping with the parade, people at the school corporation for putting that parade on, the ones who clean up the pavilion afterwards, all based on homecoming. And then go back to Leah and Angie and all the other ones at the animal shelter for that. Then we can go to the Bandshell Bash. My goodness, what a turnout. Multiple bands all day long, people working together to make that happen. And, in particular, Bill Brower and Greg Edgen, they both really worked very hard to ensure that the lineup was outstanding and never missed a beat. So thank you to them. And then thanks to all the other bands that played and were there. They did just an outstanding job. So I'll stop there. There's so many things that have to work right for events and festivals to go. And it just seemed like every one of them went off with only minor hitches and no major problems. So job well done. City of Vincennes, Knox County, job well done.
Yeah, and I would also compliment you on the acoustic stage. It was nice because when the bigger bands were breaking down in the band shell, you had a nice setup there with acoustic music, so people didn't miss a beat, and food trucks were nice, and it was great weather.
Car show. That other thing that happened was the car show got canceled 2 weeks prior. Right. They changed their date to that date, and it ended up being just outstanding. It was a nice compliment. Now those two organizations, they're going to work together and make sure that.
I was going to say, I'm certain they're going to combine those two because that's a great little combination to have.
It really just worked. It really did.
Yep, absolutely. So my other shout out I'll throw out to the First City Music Festival folks that are getting things ready for their event this weekend, which technically starts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I humanely will just be emceeing from noon to 6 on all 3 days. Originally volunteered to do the whole thing, and Jeff Deckard said, "No, you're." Yeah. He didn't say I was too old. He just said, he just said, we'll have somebody do those later hours, because he knows what my bedtime is. But looking forward to that. And actually Thursday night, they're going to have a pre-show. They're calling it, the kind of the locals are playing. So there's 3 bands playing Thursday night. That's kind of a free gift to Vincennes. Anybody like to come out and get a little taste of what's going on out there. And the entry for that is simply bringing some canned food for United Way, or you can make a monetary donation to the Evan Twitty Scholarship Fund. So it's a free event Thursday night, starting, I think, 4:30ish or so that evening. There'll be 3 acts on the stage. So lots of good things going on there. But if you have not been out to the French Commons since the First City Music Festival, people have been working on that. it's incredible. It's like a park. French Commons has really been terraformed, and it's beautiful. Jeff and his crew out there mowing every other day, and it's really a beautiful place, and will be great for events to come many years from now. So thankful for that. Chris, you got any shout outs?
I got 2 since I wasn't here last week, and I keep losing in my big league. So my sister, Lori Haddix, I was honored to give her first win ever in our league.
Your sister beat you?
Yeah. It was good. Real nice,
that one
too.
makes Thanksgiving fun.
Oh, absolutely. And then this week, Bart Harvey also put it to me. It was, although my team scored 74 points, and in a league that has a full point PPR, 6 points for quarterback touchdowns, and 3 wide receivers, it's bad. Well, when your defense scores -6, thank you, Chargers. I dropped.
By the way, his name is Bart Harvey. Bart Harvey sounds like Bart Harvey at law. Bart Harvey, Bardman at law. I mean, it sounds like a common. I don't know. That's funny. I love that name. That's a good name.
Yeah, yeah. No, I dropped Cincinnati's defense to stream the Chargers defense, and the Chargers defense gave up -6, and Cincinnati's defense scored 15. Granted, it wouldn't have affected the outcome. I lost by 50.
But it made later in the year.
Yeah. Oh, it might. It might. When you're trying to get in the playoffs, those points will matter. Yeah. Yeah. So those are my 2.
Okay. Well, so, it is, as Chris mentioned, officially fall. We got all kinds of things happening now. It looks like, nice dry weather for the rest of this week in the low 70s, 40s and 50s at night. It's always great I know I've got a request by the grandson to break out the grill tonight. He's got some leftover brats from camping adventure he had this weekend. So I got to refill the grill there and get the brat machine going. So that sounds like fun. But it's that time of year, right? You gotta, it's a good time to cook, good time to, kind of be outside and experience things that we have. And as Mark mentioned before, we got a lot of things going on in the community. I think Autumn in the Woods is coming up. Not Autumn in the Woods. That's my church event. Sorry. That's this weekend. It's a drive-through. You like fricassee, you can come on Sunday. I think it's
in 2 weeks, Mark, aren't we doing judging?
Yes. How can we not mention that in our shout-outs? Dancing with the Stars, featuring Mark and Mark as the judges.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm taking bribes already. I got Allie Bobe as the inside winner already. I just kind of
Has she donated the most to the United Way over time? I don't think so.
Something like I'm culpable at all kinds of levels, but so
I don't know. Rob McClin took me golfing earlier in the year, so I mean, it's looking good, better for him.
That could be the highest score that Rob will get from me. I don't know. What do you think, Mark? I kind of
Yeah, I like it. There you go.
But we'll see. We have 5 celebrity dancers, and they're going to be raising money for the Samaritan Center's Wabash Valley Friendship Clubhouse.
Tell them where it's at.
What's that?
Tell them where it's at.
Oh, it's at the Great American Air Center, or whatever they call that over there, Vincennes Lawrenceville Airport.
That's right. Be different.
International airport, I believe. Isn't it international
airport?
It is. It's an international trade zone, if you want to know the truth. Yes.
So you can go to the Wabash Valley Friends Facebook site and get all the information about that. You can, kind of like our chili cook-off, you can vote online for your favorite dancers. It's a fundraiser, but Mark and I, but it's going to be done. These dancers have been training. They have actually have coaches that are assisting them. A couple of the celebrity dancers are actual dancers from real life. And so Rob's just a good old guy that got in there and he's on the board, so he didn't have any choice, I think. And then when I was asked, I was not asked to be a dancer, thankful, but I was asked to be a judge. And so I couldn't think of anybody else I'd rather judge next to than Mr. McNeese. So we need to be thinking about dress code. What should it be our dress code for this thing?
Tuxedos.
Shirt tucks.
Tuxedos.
T-shirt tuck.
I've got
that'd be better.
I've got a black suit. I could get the black suit with a vest and a bow tie, and
I will not be doing that. No.
Tuxedo T-shirts sound right on point.
Yeah.
Tuxedo T-shirt.
You can put a jacket over it if you want to fancify him up a little bit. No one knows the difference.
I like it. Not from a distance. So
you gotta find, yeah. Are we allowed to bring our own scorecards? Like, it's kind of like what was that silly? Well, I think they had a part of Goofy Golf. What was that show called? They had a hole on Goofy.
Holy moly!
Holy moly! On Holy Moly, they had a hole where you had to dive. And then they had, like, the worst
and
possible.
Mark,
joke.
I think we're coming up on our break here.
Okay. I think you just want me to change the subject from holy moly. We are at the hard break, as Mark would say, or as Scott and I would say. It's time to change your Zoom channel. So we'll be back here in a couple minutes on the Mark and Chris show.
From the WAOV News Center, I'm Tom Lee reporting. The Vincennes Community School Board held a public hearing on its proposed budget for next year. The total budget has been advertised, just over $38 million. No one spoke either for or against the budget during that hearing last night. The next step now will come next month when the school board approves it and sends it to the state of Indiana for adjustments. The school board members also approved 8 different grants totaling over $1.3 million from various sources. All 8 will help fund student services for the corporation. Vincennes City Council is moving forward with discussions on current trash collection ordinances. The current system uses trash stickers for each bag at $1.25 per. City council members are considering all options right now toward finding the best solution for the city. Some options include raising the sticker fee, moving to monthly fee to be included in a user's water bill, and also privatization of trash collection. Vincennes City Council has approved a residential TIF for tax increment financing district. That was in last night's session. The council's resolution considered as Area 1 of the residential TIF district. That was approved unanimously. We've got more at WAOVAM.com. I'm Tom Lee, WAOV News.
Risk on to start the day, but then things began to falter a bit as the dollar index higher goes lower. This is Hoosier Ag Today's Tuesday closing farm market report. Crude oil held up over $2 higher. The equities strong and then fell off. And corn and soybean futures came well off of the day's highs. December corn did squeak out a penny and a quarter gain, 667.5. March 672 3/4, up 2 cents. May up 2 at 673.5. But by the end of trade, the bean market had gone lower. 1408 Novi contract down 3 1/4. Jan beans 2 1/4 lower at 14.14. Chicago wheat did stay strong. December up 13.5 cents at 871.5. October live cattle up a dime. The December down 45 at 146.90. And October lean hogs 88.70 down 167. I'm Ian to Eubank. Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
Vincennes tennis sectional pairings have been set. I'm Tom Lee with the WAOV Radio Sports Beat. In that Vincennes tennis sectional, South Knox will play Washington. Vincennes Lincoln squares off against Vincennes Reveille. Sectional will begin on the Lincoln courts tomorrow. Also, Clark Middle School golf team lost to 127-129 decision to Reveille. Gavin Catton, Landon Tellingman with 31s for Clark. South Knox 8th grade lost 2-0 to Hobstadt. On the local sports scene today, the WAOV sports calendar. Reveille boys soccer team at Mount Carmel. South Knox boys soccer team will visit North Knox. Also, Reveille girls soccer team visits Northeast DuBois. South Knox girls soccer team travels to Gibson Southern. Lincoln girls volleyball team will play at Bar Eve. South Knox volleyball travels to Evansville Christian. North Knox volleyball hosts Bloomfield. I'm Tom Lee, WAOV Sports.
The TOC Big Deal store is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Shop from your jammies or shop on the go. Log on to TOCBigDeals.com and grab a deal on Cannon's Furniture and Townhouse Bar and Grill, both in Lawrenceville. Grab the deals at TOCBigDeals.com.
Take control of your future with the most in-demand career available. Professional Class A CDL truck drivers can make over $70,000 a year. Contact Jim at the Driving Academy to learn more. 812-789-6306. BestWayDrivingAcademy.com. Open to the public.
The WAOV forecast now from the Brian Stevens Erie Insurance Weather Center. A sunny day today and a high near 69. Clear tonight to low 39 and sunny for tomorrow, high 67. Sunny Thursday, a high of 70 and then 74 on Friday, 76 on Saturday. Join us right here for St. Louis Cardinal baseball all season long on WAOV.
Hey, we're back on part 2 of the Mark and Mark show. We're in the third segment, which is always our favorite segment because we like to talk about best of streaming, TV shows, pop culture, any of those kind of things. I'm going to run through my list real quick and then let the boys chime in here because my list is kind of the same. Up to a date on the House of Dragons, week 6, new cast, great, I loved it. She-Hulk, hilarious. It's like, it was just Jen week on She-Hulk, and then been watching The Patient, which we've talked about before, and Lord of the Rings, which is a glorious, beautiful show. But I don't seem to have enough time to work all that in. It's like this is a crazy time of year to try to have all these new shows streaming. Oh, and I forgot to mention Andor. And I did watch, because Andor dropped their first 3 episodes.
I've not watched any of those.
Me neither.
Let me talk about that. Chris, have you seen that?
No.
Go
Let me
ahead and
just
talk.
Yeah, let me just mention that real quick because Andor is the prequel to Rogue One, and I've been listening to a podcast about that, and most of the experts kind of feel like this may be the best of the Star Wars made for Disney Plus network.
Better than The Mandalorian?
Yeah, they like it more than Mandalorian.
Okay, wow.
Because it all depends on your perspective. The guys I'm listening to on the podcast are like, everything else that Disney has produced with Obi-Wan and Mandalorian and all those is just such a salute and a kiss up to the classic Star Wars and doesn't really stand on its own. I mean, there's always, Darth Vader's popping in.
Oh, I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So what they like about Andor is that it seems to be kind of its own story, its own unique kind of fit, and kind of a plot line that kind of stands alone and makes sense. And from that perspective, I like it. And of course, there's always a cool robot in any of those shows, and so this one has a cool robot. But I like the fact that they dropped 3, and it stands
So,
up.
Mark,
really well.
I honestly, I'm excited about it, if you want to know the truth, because it takes A New Hope, which is the first Star Wars movie that we all know of, and Rogue One elevates it up to my second favorite by far.
Oh, absolutely.
And Rogue One even finishes maybe even third now at those. It is an outstanding battlefield spy movie, basically, is what it is. And I'm sure Andor is the beginning of that. So that's good news.
And with Rogue One, it builds right into A New Hope so seamlessly. It's beautiful.
Makes it a lot better movie.
Yeah.
And on a connected note, I heard on Bob and Tom earlier this week that James Earl Jones has finally given his entire right to the Star Wars franchise to, use his basically patched together animated voice for any future Star Wars project for Darth Vader, because he's no longer going to actually record or do something new for them because he's 91. He's earned
91. Yeah.
He's earned his chance to step aside. And of course, Bob and Tom's comments to that was, well, if he continues any longer, then he won't have to use that, respirator kind of voice in a fake way. He'll be sounding like that. So that's my take. What about you, Chris?
All right. So we watched some horror movies. We rewatched Bird Box, which I very much enjoy. It's a great thriller horror movie. We never watched it before, so we gave Jeepers Creepers a try. Awful, god awful movie. I don't mind the villain. The evil guy is fine, The supernatural stuff is fine. It's the main characters, their lack of any common sense whatsoever. Like, they get away from a horrible guy trying to wreck their car, and they decide to drive back to the church to see where he was flipping the bodies into. What? No, it's just terrible, bad. It's a bad Halloween movie. You have a couple drinks, eat some popcorn, and you enjoy it. We watched a limited series on Netflix called Devil in Ohio. It's loosely based on some cult stuff there in Ohio. First 2.5, 3 episodes really good. They take part in using good detail. They use some classic tropes, but they use details to make them not feel stupid. They got lazy the last half of the series, and it was still good, but it was just okay. We watched all of Dahmer. I will tell you, it's hard to watch.
Is it?
It is well done. The acting is amazing. It's really, really, really hard to watch.
What?
It's
You don't like watching people get deep fried up? I mean,
and they don't sugarcoat who he was. You see who he was. You see how he was raised. You see a lot of the interaction with the people and how he was. It is hard to watch. I don't recommend anybody that has issues with trauma watch it.
He was a horrible, horrible, horrible individual.
His actions when he was in prison will blow your mind.
All right.
Once he found out he had fans, he started playing up the part. It was disgusting.
Yeah. You know, I may have shared this with you previously, but I had a psychologist that worked for me for several years, and his sort of claim to fame was that during his internship, he actually got to test Jeffrey Dahmer when he was incarcerated. And, and basically the outcome of that testing was that, he wasn't nuts. He was just a sociopath.
They show all that. He literally had this, there's a name for his compulsion, and it's an actual thing that doctors are aware of. And his dad didn't help at all. His mom was awful and out of her mind. And he wasn't even very smart. The fact that he was able to get away with what he got away with is absurd.
How many red flags were sent up, too? I'm a little curious about just how shoddy the police work was in that era.
He spent a year in prison for sexual assault on a minor. Then that 14-year-old boy got away from his apartment, and the police took the boy back into his apartment because he told him it was his boyfriend. All the while, his neighbor saying, "That's a little boy. That's not his boyfriend." And because you have to realize this was height of the AIDS epidemic, and he was a gay man, and they didn't even want to go in that house. It smelled funny and it smelled bad because there were rotting bodies in there, and they didn't want to go in there because maybe that was AIDS in there. So it was. Oh, I can tell you right now. Nowadays, he would not get away with almost any of that. He probably been caught the first time.
Yeah, probably so. So, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Top that, Mark.
So add to your Halloween list, Chris. We talked about this last year, but I don't think you got it added. American Werewolf in London. You need to add that in.
We are watching it. I
love that movie.
Yes.
That's one of my
that
favorite.
Movie gives me nightmares.
It's a crazy good movie, and it holds up.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Mark, what's your list, buddy? What do you got?
Okay, so certainly Game of Thrones. We're deep into that, of course, and then listening to a couple podcasts. If you're listening to the Ringerverse is probably the best one that I've listened to. It's got Joanna Robinson out there again. Just an outstanding podcast.
Are they using source from the books, or are they sticking strictly with the show? Because that's
there it is. Joanna and one other girl on the show has read the books. One has not. Two have, and two have not. They are not giving spoilers, but they are filling in little details.
Okay, good.
Along the way, and then also some other interesting stuff. Talking about how Allison and Renora, or whatever her name is, Renora.
Rhaenyra.
In the book, the 10-year jump happens in the book as well. but there's also very little explanation of why those two don't like each other. It says in the book they talk about they were friends and now they're not. And so even they talk about in the show, it gives details to that. Also, just various differences like Sir Christian Cole and the Breaker of Bones. That fight actually doesn't happen in a training kind of thing. In the books, it happens at a tournament. You know.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of different little details that they talk about from the book to that, and some. Of course, the book is in greater detail in some things, but they don't. There's gaps that they're trying to fill in.
Yeah. I tried to explain that to anybody watching it. The books, my understanding, are each chapter is a huge time jump. Some of them are a year, some of them are 2 years, some of them are 10 years. So it's not like the show is skipping stuff. It's following the timeline of the show. I'm actually surprised with the popularity of the young actors, that they didn't use a little bit more of like maybe just filling in
They
some
could have
time.
done one season with the younger actors, in my opinion.
I agree. 100%.
They probably could have. Although I think they did a nice job of in this latest episode of, even though it was a 10-year time gap. I mean, all of a sudden,
And then also in this, you have to understand the two actresses we see right now, the two women, the two girls. These two were cast.
They were cast.
The other ones were cast as their fill-ins for the young version. So this is who they were going to focus the rest of the show on, at least the rest of this year, and I think part of next year before the big time jump again.
So the Queen is you couldn't do a better job with the Queen.
Oh, I agree. Olivia Cook's great,
and they're spot on. And the Rhaenyra stuff is close. If their noses were a little bit more the same, it would be easier to not to do that. I've heard a lot of complaints from people; they just can't get past the time jump.
Oh, baloney!
They'll get over it. They'll get over it. Speaking of getting over it, we got to get off the air here for just a minute, pay some bills, and we'll come back with a little glimpse.
I have one more show that I'm watching.
That's fine. We'll come back to you, Mark, when we come back on the Mark and Chris show.
Burgess, you're listening to Network.
My name is Taylor McLean, and my brother saved 5 lives. In 2016, when my brother, Hoosier race car driver Brian Clausen, tragically died in a racing accident, he became a hero because of his decision to be an organ donor. That decision has inspired countless others to do the same.
All of it was such a story, and the way it all connected together, every layer of it.
NASCAR champ Ryan Newman sat down with Indiana Donor Network and shared what inspired him to join the Driven to Save Lives movement.
The reality was he did a great thing, but the chain of events and how it affected other people, I believe, made him a legend. Made him somebody special, even more special than just being a race car driver, than just being a friend or a family member. When you're giving like that, you become legendary.
Join the movement and sign up as an organ donor at driventosavelives.org.
Is your network not performing like it should? Do you need expert advice on how to better your business's network, large or small? In need of technical support, but don't want to add the cost of headcount to your bottom line? Intellicent Managed Services is more than your local broadband and voice provider. From basic internet connection to network integration and management, let our experts support you every step of the way. Don't know where to start? Give RTC Communications a call at 812-486-3211 for a consultation.
The brother Lars and the dad, the reason why he had the hate towards him, to burn down.
Yeah, they really didn't build into that well at all. It kind of just like they just made him a bad guy for me. No, Scotty, we're on. Yeah. But they just made him a bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy. We don't have any backstory.
Lars they didn't do a very good job of the jump between the two brothers and why there's discourse there. Why he was willing to burn down Harrenhal.
Yeah.
And
by the way, we're back on the air, boys.
We're still talking about Game of Thrones, everyone.
Yeah, we're talking about Game of Thrones for everybody that just turned on after the commercial break. And obviously, Chris and Mark and I are all big fanboys of the show. And
so in the book, too, they leave the mystery of who burns down Harrenhal a little more ambiguous. So there's like multiple
in the book. You mean?
Yeah, and multiple people that could have done it. Well, this definitively answers who does.
Yeah, he just straight up tells you. Yeah.
Well, we have our little foot.
It's a little finger. Yeah.
Little finger. Yeah.
So the
Foot,
other show that I've jumped into, Jenny's been watching The Bachelor, and it finished up. And then we had been watching Peaky Blinders, of course. But I have decided, I have committed, and I am on my way to watching Doctor Who. I never watched any of the Doctor Who, and I'm into the second season, midway through the second season.
You're not talking about like all the way back, Doctor Who.
Oh, I'm not talking about the 60s. No, I'm talking about 2002 when it started again.
Okay, got you. Yeah. Just had to make
by the
sure.
way, Littlefoot, Littlefoot, that was a dinosaur. Sorry.
Yeah, Littlefoot was from that was the the Disney movie.
Little finger.
Land Before Time.
Doctor Who because of just the sheer magnitude of how big that catalog is. It is massive, and I decided to exclude the 60s and 60s, early 70s, I believe, and then just jump right into where this is. And I'm David Tennant was not the first Doctor Who. There was one before him in the first season, and then it switches to David Tennant. Matthew Smith,
Matt Smith.
He's on at some point in time too. So we will see all that. But there's been five Doctor Who's, I think, in this current iteration. Yeah, this current.
Where do you watch that, Mark?
You can watch Doctor Who on HBO Max.
HBO. Okay.
HBO Max. It's out there, and it takes a bit to get in, just a couple episodes, and then you're like, dang it, now I'm here.
Okay, Mark. So I'm putting the pressure on you as a Yankee fan. I've been watching the Yankees play every single night on some, at least when Judge bats. You know,
they keep winning.
Albert's 42, and he got across the finish line. How much longer will it take Aaron Judge?
I don't know. I was kind of hoping he would do it in the Babe Ruth timeline because he got to 60 in the Babe Ruth timeline, 147 games. Quite clearly, Aaron Judge for the Yankees has had one of the best offensive seasons in the history of baseball.
Isn't he ranked first in like every major category?
Yeah, he's still in the Triple Crown race.
Yeah, he has the chance to hit 61 or 62 home runs and then still win the Triple Crown. And I heard somebody really explain that. You know, we had two guys in 80 years of baseball hit 60 home runs, and then we had four in a period of like 6 years because of PEDs. Right. And they said, well, how do you deal with this? And they said, well, Aaron, maybe you don't put the asterisk because the asterisk has such a bad connotation in baseball because Roger Maris had to live with it. Maybe you talk that he's hit this many home runs since Major League Baseball started testing for PEDs. You know, and that's how you leave it and go because if there is not overwhelming evidence that everyone was juiced in 98, 99, 2000, I don't know what is, man. Pitchers, batters, everyone. Barry Bonds hit a broken bat home run on a low ball swing, and it went over the fence by 12 feet.
I saw an interesting video the other day where it talked about his swing, and of course he's 6'7", and
he's gigantic,
60 pounds.
He's a monster.
I showed Jenny a picture of Jose Altuve and him together. And I go, these people play the same sport, right? Altuve is 5'6".
Well, it's interesting watching yesterday's game because Harrison Bader's, doing a pretty good job of, filling in on defense now. And he's in center field. And so there was a ball hit to the wall, and Bader times it right and leaps and just misses this, catch by, inches. But, if that had been Judge in the same spot, he probably would have caught it. I don't know that he would have gotten to the same spot, but
I don't know, man. That guy is an incredible athlete, homegrown Yankee, 6'7", gigantic. Could have played tight end. Could have played quarterback. Can you imagine him as a quarterback?
Absolutely.
Or a lineman. I mean, he's just gigantic and athletic, and doesn't run like a big giant guy either. He runs really well too.
That's true. So, what's your prediction?
I think he gets to 62, 60.
That's what I think too.
I would like to see him, just as importantly, I think I would like to see him bat 317 or 316. That's a big deal for somebody that smashes home runs. And in this era, when there's nobody batting very well, clearly
they're all swinging for home runs or
have the upper hand. He's doing it. He's doing better. So,
to be fun. So, if the playoffs started today, and it'd be an interesting thing to kind of talk about. You've got the Mets and Atlanta are still jockeying for first place in their division. So, and it may come down to the last game or so. There is no game after 162, which is nice because there won't be any, if somebody ties, there's tiebreakers set up both for those wild card spots and for the division playoffs.
But they won't need it.
So, right. And same with the Cardinals. Cardinals really going into the next two games against Milwaukee. If they beat them once, their magic number is 3. But since they hold the series lead, if they win tonight, they'll basically gain a tie, and then they own the tiebreakers. So I think pretty firmly that they'll obviously win the division. But Milwaukee's still in the race for a playoff team because Philadelphia and San Diego are really kind of playing just a little bit above 500 ball, and neither one of them are tearing it up. And of course, Milwaukee's kind of starting to play better now. So it'll be interesting to see who gets that third wild card spot. And then
if you're a Cardinal fan, you don't want to play Milwaukee.
No, well, of course, all 3 games will be in St. Louis. That's the upside. It looked like we were, going to play San Diego. I mean, it's interesting. We didn't play very well in San Diego, but we played pretty well against them. We got to get our pitching together. Our pitching's been kind of flat.
You just need to get to the Dodgers. That's who you guys beat all the time.
Right. So the good news is, we line up opposite the Dodgers in the playoffs. So, we'd have to get through round 1, which I'm just happy to be there, to be honest with you. So it's always good. But for Mark, baseball season never ends. That's me. I just and of course the most fascinating thing about the whole Pujols thing was on the night he breaks the record, or not breaks the record, but made 700 home runs, put him in 4th place all time. He was on Apple TV, not on Valley Sports, not on ESPN,
I've been
not
watching
on MLB. MLB reserves Friday nights for Apple TV, and they had both the Yankee game and the Cardinal game, and so there were a lot of people that didn't get to see that live, even though it was free. You could sign up for Apple TV for free to watch it. But I was fortunate. In fact, I got Mary Gay up to watch the second one because she'd gone to bed after he hit $6.99, and I'm like, I just had a feeling. It was a good feeling too. But it was fun. And as you mentioned at the outset, Mark, I mean, the Dodger Nation embraced him because he spent most of last season in LA, and and of course breaking the record there, he got to do it in front of his family and some of his friends from that part of the world too. So it's an incredible feat that he's pulled off, and he's actually our best hitter right now.
Which is saying something, by the way.
That is. Yeah, when you got 2 MVP candidates in Arenado and Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's kind of cooled off some, but they both have over 100 RBIs, and both hit over 30 home runs, and they're good ball players. So it should be fun. It's nice to recapture that spirit.
By the way, I have not watched the final She-Hulk, or the last She-Hulk that was out. We'll see where that show goes. I'm kind of curious how that works in. It goes into Secret Wars eventually, but Marvel is, I think, struggling a bit right now.
They are. They're trying to find their footing with this new phase situation. It's not easy. I mean, with expanding that universe more and more, it just becomes so much more difficult to tie stuff down. And I think they
went through the same thing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of burnout too. I mean, you drop 4 movies a year, and it's like you don't get excited because another one's coming right after the next one.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we're coming into the wind down, boys. 1 minute to go. So any parting thoughts here as we move into the rest of the week? Chris?
The long fantasy football season, guys. If you're 1-2 or 0-3, don't sweat it.
Be patient. Be patient.
Yeah.
I only dropped one spot. I was at number 2, and now I'm number 3, which
I mean, you're 100 points above me after 3 weeks, buddy. That's a pretty. That's a lot of points.
There you go.
So,
all right, 30 seconds,
yeah.
Mark. Well, hey, so we'll see you next week here on Mark and Chris show, and see who else shows up. We'll have a good week, guys. See you at the First City Music Festival this weekend. Bye.
See you guys.
You're listening to the Talk